Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Guitar Souls podcast. This is episode number 106. And yeah, we're back in my studio, which is fantastic. I am one of your hosts, Mr. Levi Clay, and I'm here with my good friend, Mr. Mike McLaughlin. How's it going, bud?
Blessed to be here, you handsome motherfucker. Reunited, and it feels so good. Know what I mean?
There it is. There's the Guitar Souls sing-along. I hope everybody enjoyed that.
As long as we're excited when we're reunited. Hey, hey.
Yeah, mate, I'm good. I am. It's weird. Like, I'm so used to when we have a conversation doing them remotely, I'm looking at you on screen. So I am looking at you on screen, but then I'm wanting to look at you like this.
As you should.
I'm going to try and stare at you there, and yeah, weird one. How strange getting used to talking to each other in a room again.
Being near other humans.
Yeah,
some laugh.
But same routine. Nothing really changed. Lots of transcribing. Lots of Yeah, Melissa moving in. So we've got to do, actually, probably worth pointing this out, for all of you wonderful supporters over on Buy Me a Coffee, thing on screen right now. Right after this podcast, we are going to record our bonus episode. We're a little bit behind. I don't think we're doing it in the ideal setting. I think in the long run, people probably want to see those bonus episodes where we have a little bit more alcohol involved. We're going to be doing it at midday on a Saturday. Mike is going to teach me a party cannon riff. For the love of God.
I've not even let Levi hear the riff that I'm going to make him play. I've not let him see the tab. I've not told him which song it's in. All you should know is it's in one of the newer Party Cannon songs, and it's probably it's not wild, but it's fast.
Cool. Terrifying.
Yes.
And I'm going to teach Mike some country stuff, because why not?
I cannot fucking wait. Genuinely.
It's going to be good fun.
Mm-hmm.
So if you would like to watch that bonus episode, please do head on over, link in the description to our Buy Me a Coffee page. Support us over there. It's our NAMM fund, so we can go over to NAMM and do cool things over there. That should be, fingers crossed, a lot of fun. How's you? Anything interesting going on with you?
Just non-stop, as per usual. Been just finishing off all my e-learning for eventually getting my start date sorted for the new job, which is really good. I've been in contact with the company. They've been really good. I let them know, obviously, about my gran passing away. And thanks very much to everybody and anybody that sent me a wee message and just put their kind thoughts out there. I appreciate it. They've been really good about it. They obviously understood that might cause a wee bit of issues for me getting everything else done quickly as I'd like to. But hopefully after Monday, which is my gran's funeral, I should have a start date and I should be able to get cracked right in and get on with that. I helped Nancy's brother move house yesterday, so I was the van driver / lifter / mover. Returned the van this morning, picked Nancy up, went for something quick to eat, and then come down to see you. And I've still also got another 2-hour first aid course to do today. So busy boy.
Yeah.
All work and no play makes Mike a dull boy.
I feel you. I probably should do some work today, but we'll see what happens.
You're pretty good at managing your own schedule anyway, let's be honest.
Am I? Working till like 3 in the morning, booking lessons at 1 o'clock in the morning like a maniac?
Well, I mean, I did point out to you and you said, but that's when they're free.
Yeah.
So
I say the same thing to every one of my new students when they reach out to me. They're like, what is your schedule like? When can you fit me in? And I'm like, it doesn't work like that. When suits you. I can work around your schedule because you are the learner and you need to be in an optimal learning position for yourself rather than you bending over backwards to fit my schedule. I'm just doing transcribing most of the day, I can fit you around transcribing. It's not a problem.
That's a funny way to say PlayStation.
Yeah. And that's really easy to do when someone's in the UK or someone's in Europe or someone's on the east coast of the States, but when you start moving into the Midwest and out to the west, the time zone is a real bitch. So if they want like early afternoon,
I think as much as that,
eight hours.
I thought California was 10 for some reason.
Pretty sure it's 8.
You, there's way more chance you're right than I am.
Yeah.
Way more chance. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, no worries. So, and speaking of PlayStation, I am playing Watch Dogs Legion, which I started playing and was like, this is dumb. This is just so dumb. And it is totally dumb.
Of course it is.
But I was kind of commenting to you before the podcast, talking about playing video games and like saying that about listening to music and Undertale. I was like, I don't listen to music and games anymore. Most of the time, I don't even pay attention to the story anymore. I'm too busy.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, the good thing about Watch Dogs Legion is the story's all right. The only disappointing thing is there's no main character, because the concept is you can
Be anybody.
recruit anybody on the street.
And they've all got different skills.
Yeah.
It is a game. It is a game that I am very interested in playing. I never played the first 2 Watch Dogs.
Yeah.
Although I heard they were really good, I just never got round to it.
All right.
I heard the first one was really good.
Yeah.
Second one.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird series. But for me, I started the game up and it gives you a selection of operatives to start the game as.
Mm-hmm.
And the first option was a middle-aged pub landlady called Petrucci. And she just looks like Pat Butcher. And I was like, I am going to use her as my main operative, and I am going to try and do the entire game with this one. And it's hilarious.
I like it.
Late 50s woman running in and beating the living fuck out of trained militia groups is hilarious. Entering bare knuckle boxing tournaments, hilarious.
You know what? I'm going to have to get in about this.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to. It seems like the time is right now that you've explained to me that I can go a 55-year-old publican.
Yeah.
It's just the ultimate character.
Watching her do like keepy ups with the football, and when she drops the football, she's like, "Oh, you fucking wank stain!" It's absolutely glorious, hilarious, like a really cheesy, over the top London landlady type thing. And yeah.
In fact, it's funny you mentioned.
Bastard, love it.
Kind of comes full circle what we were talking about earlier on. You know how we were talking about music in games, because we were talking about Undertale, and obviously you were playing Super Mario 64 themes. I'm pretty sure the La Fontaines have got a song in Watch Dogs Legion.
Right. Okay.
Pretty certain.
That's a shame. Not for the La Fontaines. That's great for the La Fontaines, but music in that game is the last thing that you want to deal with, because the whole concept of the game is like this horrible dystopian Big Brother future. So anytime you're driving, you are totally best putting on the radio, the chat podcast type things on because it gives you a little bit more insight into the world.
It's a wee bit like Grand Theft Auto. Obviously, the originator of having a real radio station with radio stations with real music. But everybody always turned it and listened to like either is it Hugo Chavez? Remember him? Not Chives, not Chaves, Chavez, or fucking Laszlo. Yeah, Laszlo. He for some reason he's been like a constant theme. He did really well in continuing him as a character. Yeah, which is quite clever. Yeah. Remember Love Fist?
Yeah.
Love Fist. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Classics. So
stupid.
Anyway, on with the show. We have 5 things to talk about today. And of course, we have to talk about sponsorships. So, for example, did you know? It didn't work. Let me try again.
You've not enough whiskey today?
No whiskey whatsoever. Not yet. Leave that for later. What? No ad read. What's going on with that? Ormsby have dropped us as a sponsor. No, that's totally not true.
Don't even say that, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, no, that's not true.
He's only kidding.
We're going to be doing I'm going to do a new ad read for those guys. They have announced the upcoming Run 16 guitars. So rather than doing it the old-fashioned way and having an ad read, I thought we'd actually look through these and go through these in a little bit more detail, because these are cool and they're totally just worth checking out. So I'm going to bring them up like this.
This is the one we spoke about already.
The Ando sound signature that we talked about last time.
Look at it. Fuck me, beautiful.
So for people that are listening and not watching, how would we describe this?
This is a hype shape, so essentially a super strat shape with a kind of arm cut. It's just left like the natural top. It's been painted, headstock and body are matching in like a red to gold chameleon finish.
Yep.
White bobbins on the pickups. All the hardware is gold. Standard white, I think it's Tusk nut. A beautiful flame maple fretboard. Black dot inlays, 12 on the top of the neck, and then for 12 to 24 on the bottom side of the neck, so swapping sides. And I think that must be, is it Wenge for the neck?
Yeah, I was just looking for that.
I'm pretty sure it'll be Wenge. Not so I'm saying it right this time, because Perry corrected us.
Yeah. No, that was
it is laminated Wenge.
Yeah.
Set neck, carbon reinforced rods. So it'll probably be a guitar that never goes out of tune.
Yeah. So
never needs intonated.
Definitely cool.
Never needs the neck adjusted.
Available in both 6, 7 and 8 string models.
You know what I've just noticed? It's probably why I like it so much. Aesthetically, see if you scroll down a wee bit, right? You notice how on the left hand side you've got dark body, light neck.
Yep.
when it flips, you've got the ash body and the
Right,
dark
right,
neck.
yeah.
I really like that
Sure.
parallel.
Like a yin and yang type vibe.
Aye,
Yeah.
aye. It wouldn't surprise me if that was something that Ando had asked for, to be fair.
Yeah, that is
But,
quite cool. And I want to mention pricing on this. So 6-string models, we'll do US dollars for these. 6-string models come with premium gig bag, and you're looking at $1,400, well, just shy of $1,500. The 7-string model is $1,500, and the 8-string is $1,550. So great price if you want to get involved. Head on over to Ormsby's website for that. In terms of when is the shipping ETA? So looking at December or January, and then delivery it's February to March of 2022. So get involved, get on a payment plan. We also have the multi-scale Hype GTRs. Some new finishes.
Well, there are some new finishes, but the Black Dahlia, or Dahlia Black, sorry, seems to be one that was did before. That was on the Metal X and the Metal Vs, as was Dragon Burst. I believe Dahlia Black was also on some of the Hypes before, so this must be a popular colour to come back.
Yeah.
The Ermine White Hypes, that I believe they were run one. Run one they did white,
right? Okay,
as a solid colour, and that's the last time they did it.
Yeah,
it looks especially nice with that silver hardware.
Yeah,
I think the hardware was silver before, but it just looks good.
Yeah,
and the other two that seem to be showing up, which you and I were talking about just before we started recording, the Icy Cool and Pine Lime finishes, which are
blues and greens.
Yeah, blue and green and like a white burst.
Yeah, like a kind of blurry white burst around the edge, which I think is really cool. Legitimately, I think that's really cool as a concept. I'm not crazy on the green and the blue myself. I would like that in maybe a red, because I love red guitars.
Of course you do.
I can't help myself. I just love a red guitar.
I remember you not being too bothered, and then you saw the Red Dead and you were like, I need that on a Goliath, thank you, right now.
I think the Dragon Burst looks fantastic on
Absolutely.
the Hype. So yeah, Hypes are available, and in terms of prices, you're looking at $1,400 for the 6-string, $1,430 for the 7-string, and $1,480 for the 8-string. And again, payment plans are available, so do check them out. And these are looking for delivery in February or March of next year. We also have a new run of Metal X's, the GTR Run 16 Metal X's. So the same basic idea. The mic has a Metal X, of course. Same finishes, aside from there's this stunning purple, the purple, which so I'm a big fan of purple guitars as well.
Yeah, they did do purple for the Hypes on previous runs as well, so it's nice to see it in the Metal X.
Yeah,
I think that and the Dragon Burst are you know what? I don't have favourites. I think they all look really good. I mean, I totally agree with you with the green and the blue. I'm not sure about that with the White Burst personally. I think it looks good, but it's not the kind of thing I would have.
Oh, I think if you are a big fan of the colour blue, this is a great looking blue.
Oh, absolutely.
Just blue and green, light blues and light greens are just not really colours I tend to go for. So.
Well, I mean, I can't say I don't go for light green because I do have a light green guitar at the moment, and I can't say I don't go for light blue because I've got the turquoise and I had that soda blue or whatever the fuck colour it was, Ibanez.
But you didn't pick that. That was
that Ermine White X though. Oh.
So this is your opportunity
classy.
to get involved and get one of the signature Mike McLaughlin Dragon Burst X's, Metal X's. Prices on these, they only come in 6-string and 7-string versions. A little bit more. They've not even put the US pricing on those ones. Let's get a rough comparison. $1,849. Yeah, so you're looking at $1,400
for the 6.
$1,400, and let's say $1,430 for the 7s.
It's not far off that, to be fair.
Yeah, not far off that. So,
and the ones that Levi took, I don't know how many days to notice didn't have a headstock.
It wasn't even looking. So to be fair, I hadn't spent a lot of time looking at the images of things. I just scrolled through some pictures.
It's not as if it says in giant letters Metal V headless.
Well, that was exactly it. When I was looking for the page and it said Metal V headless, I was like, wait, hang on, do these not have headstocks on them? And again, it's the same basic idea as the Metal X's in terms of the colour scheme. You've got a white one, you've got the blue with a white burst, you've got the green with a white burst, you've got the Dragon Burst, you've got the Dahlia, Black Dahlia, and you've got the purple one.
Yes.
And again, that Dragon Burst, headless V Dragon, that's cool, man.
That is cool, isn't it? It's really it fits the genres of music I'd imagine people are playing from it, like heavy but maybe tech or progressive of some kind. It's cool. It's an interesting thing.
Yeah, and we've not pointed out, of course, that every single one of these is a multi-scale. So get involved if you're interested in multi-scales. I think these are really, really fucking cool.
Yes.
I do kind of like that. Like with the Dragon Burst, it has a blue back, and the Dahlia Black has a black back. but they've gone with the natural for the icy cool and the pine lime, and white for the ermine white. Actually, that ermine white looks pretty fucking cool.
It's nice, isn't it? Really nice. I like the black and the white contrast.
Yeah.
One of my absolute, no, it's not a bucket list guitar, but a guitar that I lusted over for years. Remember, I don't know if I had it when you were staying up here. The Dave Mustaine V, the DV8R.
No, I never saw it.
I had a black one.
Right.
I always wanted a white one, but I wanted one with a white matching headstock, and you
Right.
couldn't get that unless you bought like an ESP custom shop,
Okay.
and it was quite upsetting.
These come in at $19.49 Australian. Again, they've not put the US pricing on there. I'm looking for a rough comparison.
We're waiting the website getting updated anyway, so
Sure.
I'd imagine that's a part of that.
You're looking at $14.80, about $14.80 for the 6-string, which, perfectly reasonable price. These are available in 6 strings, 7 strings, and 8 strings, which is wild actually, because they've got no mock-ups of an 8-string version of this. I would love to see an 8-string version of this.
You'd love to buy an 8-string version of that.
I'd love to buy a lot of things, mate.
So would I. So would I. You know what I really, really like the idea of regarding this, right? The headless models must balance so nice. Must sit great. Like just.
But I think it is worth pointing out when it comes to these, though, looking at that V, this is a guitar that is designed to be played standing up.
Oh, totally.
Obviously, Vs don't sit so well on the leg anyway. You would want to put your leg in the back section, but on these, because they're headless, they have tuners there, so I wouldn't really recommend sitting down with it like that.
Saying that, I don't think you would knock the guitar out of tune. Per se, I think you'd probably just be at more risk of not being able to tune it quicker than you'd want to.
They are relatively stiff, like tuners like that, but you're introducing unnecessary risk would be the way I would kind of.
You're still putting pressure on a part that doesn't need it. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
But yeah, I think they're absolutely stunning instruments. So,
yes. Perry, one of every colour and every shape and every model. Thank you. I'll expect the container to land February or March next year.
The real question is, why are we not getting a Guitar Souls signature model? We'll just have a giant bum hole in the middle of it.
I think the problem would be it would be half Telecaster, half X.
I mean, that's a great idea.
No, it's not. Zach Wilde tried to do it with the fucking SG and the V, and it looked terrible.
Yeah, but his idea, where he went wrong, is he did top and bottom of the guitar. We should do left and right. Yeah.
Oh my god.
You
can design the headstock, and I'll design the body. We've got our traditional 21 fret maple fucking Telecaster neck on the pointiest cunt of a body you've ever seen.
That's what you want, right?
No,
you want fanned frets, but on one side of the fretboard there's 21 frets, and the other side there's 22.
I mean, well, that's got what, fucking 29?
Yeah, good point.
It's ridiculous.
So good work, guys over at Ormsby, and viewers, please do go and check them out. And of course, big thank you to Daniel and our friends over at Dead World Audio. I appreciate how bad this is starting to look now, because every time we do this podcast, I can pick it up. That's by design. I take it off the floor and put it here so I can pick it up and show it to you. It doesn't just live there. You
know what really, really impressed me about the Duality DX is the gate.
Yeah. The
gate is ridiculous, man. I was using the Bagheera Tri-Rec in the studio the other day at Jams, and I had it running 4-cable method, and I only turned the gate up the tiniest wee bit, and I was like, that's like choking notes, I'm going to have to pull it back. And it was just, the amp was silent.
Yeah.
And as soon as I started playing, it was just chunk.
Yeah. And 4-cable gates are just the way forward.
It's the dream, isn't it?
The way forward. Gating your signal before it hits the amp, and then gating it effectively in the preamp as well.
Yep. And actually using a clean signal to know when the gate opens.
But between preamp and power amp, that's
right.
For.
Yep.
So very cool. Thank you very much to the guys over at Dead World Audio. And conversations are ongoing currently with Whiskey Company.
Mm-hmm.
So
liver cirrhosis soon, boys.
Oh yeah.
No thanks.
Us blessing a barrel.
That'd be cool. I would like that.
Just the most hilarious thing in the world.
I'll take a Dremel with me and we'll draw our face in the barrel.
Fantastic. Okay, so let's talk about some things. Let's do the guitar-related news. We're going to start by talking about Periphery, just because I did the video on the Periphery story yesterday.
Yes.
That wasn't the plan. I should be clear about that. I posted this in the Guitar Souls admin page thinking this would be something worth talking about. But the more I looked at it, the more I just got annoyed by it.
I could tell that, because like you'd put it in the group, and before I knew it, you had a rage time up, and I was like, that's clearly pissed him off.
Yeah.
Like, pissed him off to no end.
I had that uploaded within 40 minutes of their post being posted on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said in my video, like, I saw that post as quick as I did because I'm a fan of Periphery on Facebook. I follow them, so I see their stuff. This isn't just me going after a band that because I want to take them down a peg. Like, I like the band. My last listening party stream was a Periphery album, which I did with Melissa. I like Periphery. I like their music, and we're always talking about Misha and the way they do business on the podcast, because I think they are wonderful examples of how to be successful in the modern music industry, right? And that's good. They have a run of parody t-shirts, which is cool. Parody t-shirts are really cool. I don't know if I'd buy one of the parody shirts from their web store, but if I was at a gig, I would absolutely buy one of their cool parody shirts they have. They have a really cool, like, Final Fantasy parody t-shirt.
I don't think I've seen it, but
yeah, well, I'll bring it up because we want people to see the
I've got an old Periphery t-shirt that I got when Kieran and I went to see them.
Yeah.
Somewhere in my house, it's red.
So when I look through their page, so there's the Final Fantasy parody shirt. That's a classic example of what a parody is.
Absolutely. Like, you've got the aesthetic choices of it, and you've used the same typeface, but not...
You know what this is inspired by.
Clearly, you're not infringing any trademarks or taking the piss, but it's obvious what it is.
Yeah. When you look at the...
Kind of like Party Cannon's take on the fucking Toys R Us font.
Yeah, exactly.
Superiffery. Oh, cheeky.
It's absolutely... that's absolutely a parody. You know what it's come from. And that's perfectly acceptable. And, of course, there's the classic Grand Theft Auto one.
It's not a genre.
Again, great parody shirt, because even going so far as the where the Rockstar logo would be in the bottom with the R, they've put the Periphery P in there, because of course you couldn't put the Rockstar R in there because that would be trademark infringement. So then they release, what do they release? A fucking Periphery shirt with the PlayStation logo on it.
Yeah, not any edit on it whatsoever. Original colours, the lot. Then they use what is clearly known as, like, the PlayStation font.
Yeah.
Everybody recognises it for what it is to write the name. If they'd done that and maybe changed the logo, things might have been different, but...
Well, I want you to imagine for a second, like, looking at that t-shirt, the PlayStation logo is a P and an S, of course. The S has nothing to do with Periphery, so this is really about the P. Why didn't they release this shirt with just a P on it?
Because then people wouldn't be able to recognise that it's a trade in the PlayStation thing.
Exactly, because less people would want to buy it, because... The reason people want to buy this is the nostalgia involved with the PlayStation brand, and that's something that's probably extremely relevant to Periphery's demographic. So we're acknowledging that this shirt wouldn't be as appealing if it didn't have that S there.
I think yes, and this iteration, yes.
It's almost like the trademark itself has value.
I know, and like that's where the likeness and the excitement comes from. Obviously, and it's almost like you're using that stature to sell your product, almost as if you're using another company's good faith tenure to boost your own sales.
Which is, it's worth pointing out that I've had a lot of people say to me, but how do you know that this shirt isn't officially licensed? And you know what? Credit where credit is due. You are absolutely right. I cannot say with 100% confidence that this shirt isn't licensed. It is entirely possible that this shirt has indeed been licensed. But there isn't much to suggest that that would be the case.
Yes, correct.
This is a band that has a long history of making parody t-shirts. So why on earth would a band that makes parody t-shirts and takes all of the money suddenly go, you know what we're going to do? We're going to release another t-shirt, but we're going to take a huge chunk out of the revenue that we can make off of this by licensing a logo that we're going to put on it.
There's also absolutely nothing on the mock-up or the website to indicate that there's any sort of trademark that they're recognising that they're using.
Yeah, exactly.
So
there's no cross promotion. You'd expect that. You'd tag PlayStation on Facebook.
And PlayStation would be tagging Periphery, trying to really hype it up and make themselves some money off it. But as we all know, PlayStation employees don't work for Friday to Monday, and that's the only times you can buy this T-shirt. And it's almost as if the lawyers work Monday, Friday, 9 to 5.
This is a 72-hour sale on a T-shirt. Imagine being so fucking thick that you would say, well, I'm sure that they've licensed this, because why wouldn't they have licensed this? Looking at this shirt and going, right, so Periphery have just forked out the cash for a license, to use a license, And rather than maximizing the time period that they could make the money back on that license, they're just going to use it for 3 days. Yes, I'm sure that's legit. And also, relatively confident that if you are going to license someone's brand and license someone's trademark, I keep using the word trademark, it's almost like you'd have the little TM next to the PlayStation logo there, because that's exactly what you would have to do if you were using someone else's trademark and it was licensed.
Yes.
So
that's what I mean. There's no indication whatsoever that Periphery have recognised that this is not their thing. See if they'd maybe even edited it, kept the same colours and the same style of like the logo, and did like a D and a J for gent or something. That would have been fucking great.
Yeah, and that absolutely would have been a parody. But it's the problem with this is like, it's fans, isn't it? It's people. The thing that disgusts me in dealing with this is, and I made a post about it on Facebook today, it's the Hail Stand thing. A wonderfully ironically named album when you think about it, because their fans are unbelievable fucking stands for this band. There is nothing that this band could do that will bother these people. It just doesn't matter. They take the attitude of, yeah, well, it's just a small independent band and PlayStation are a massive mega corporation, so really they don't care and they don't need the money. That's not a fucking good argument.
I think even beyond that, Periphery are probably one of the biggest metal bands of this scene, if not arguably the biggest, in terms of making like mainstream credibility or doing well for themselves. So there's not much of an argument to be had that they're only a wee band and they're sticking it to the man. Like, they're making way more money, in my guesses, and by the looks of it, just looking at each member and the band itself and the functions of it. I don't think they're doing anywhere near as badly as other bands might be, especially through the pandemic and stuff. Yeah.
And even if that was a valid argument, then because it's a smaller entity using the trademarks of somebody bigger, therefore it doesn't matter. Awesome. Guitar Souls are going to launch our own line of Periphery merchandise. It's going to be all of Periphery's different album covers and whatever on a t-shirt, and then on the back there's going to be a little Guitar Souls stamp. You guys, and I'm saying you guys like any of you are fucking listening to this, you guys would all, I don't mean the band, I mean the fans, you would have a massive fucking problem if we did that, just like Periphery would have a massive problem if we did that, because it's almost like they've spent the last fucking 15 years or however long building up their brand, building up the value associated with the term Periphery, and all associated iconography that goes with that they would protect those trademarks. Doing this is shitty, but I take even bigger issue with the fans here than I do Periphery themselves, because it has been cool to see a lot of fans call them out on this and say, this isn't right, you're better than this.
And you're also going to get fucked for it, you're doing something really stupid.
Yeah, but the sad thing is I don't think they are going to get fucked for it. I think this will just fly under the radar. And the reason it will fly under the radar is because their fans will just let it fly under the radar.
No, sorry, you're saying like it'll fly under the radar. Maybe with consumers. I don't get the impression that Sony will be looking at this too kindly. And considering it's already kind of not blown up, it's not went viral or anything, but it's going to get back to them somehow.
Yeah, that's assuming that they actually see it. And the thing is, like, how do I put this? I appreciate that me making a video on it and me making a song and dance about it and talking about it comes across like I'm a grass, right? But that's a very different thing from me actually going to Sony and tagging them in things and saying, guys, you need to fucking do something about this. This isn't about Periphery and Sony. This is about us, the consumers, the people that keep this industry afloat, demanding better of the people that we put in fucking Porsches and Rolexes. You know what I mean? Like, people need to be held accountable and have some fucking integrity and consistency. There's no integrity with this. And fans of the band, which I fall under the category of, should think that it's okay when somebody that you like a lot does something shitty for you to say to them what you've done there is shitty. If we look at the outside of the metal scene at the moment, Ricky Skaggs is going through a lot of hassle on the social scenes at the moment because, of course, he's a bluegrass musician, classic old school bluegrass musician. He's one of the greats.
I don't know who that is, but I'm listening.
Unbelievably important on the country and the bluegrass scene, and always has been, because his contribution to music in that scene is immense. But of course, with that, you can probably guess that he's a Christian, and you can probably guess that he's quite a conservative Christian. He has appeared on some evangelical podcasty type things recently, espousing QAnon stuff. Exactly, right? Exactly. So
I fell down that rabbit hole, not in the sense of believing it,
yeah,
but looking into what the substance of it is and trying to not analyse the tweets or any of that, but analyse what people were saying about it.
Yeah.
And the podcast I listened to was called Those Conspiracy Guys, and the episode was with a guy called Praying medic
Right.
who was or is like a medic / first responder that believes that God gave him more power to heal people, and that QAnon was something else. Like all the posts are real, and it must be an intelligence insider. And I listened to it for about 2 hours, but he was going like, remember back when he tweeted in February that 2 men will do this and this will happen? Well, there was a guy in this building, and then he went to this country and that happened, and look, there's the proof. And I'm like, right, Jeff Goldblum, keep the fucking chaos theory to yourself. Honestly, man, it was just...
So yeah, so
Anyway,
in
sorry.
this, it's funny. In this example, I can still like Ricky Skaggs' music, and I can point out all the great things that he's done for country music, but then I can still call him out and say, dude, you are contributing to the downfall of society by perpetuating bullshit like this. You are perpetuating division among the people in your country. This is not how you bring people together, by dividing them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same basic thing with Periphery here. We can call people out when they do bad things. You have to, as a Periphery fan, you have to look at this and be honest with yourself. If somebody did this using Periphery's brands, you would be pissed off, just as Periphery would be pissed off if you set up a merchandise page on Facebook where you were selling fake merchandise. And when we say fake merchandise, what we really mean by that is using trademarks on them that you don't own. That's what fake merchandise is.
Yes.
It's not that it's necessarily passing itself off for the genuine article, though of course they are doing that too. The issue with it is that the brands that you are using have not been licensed. You haven't licensed the brands. It's massively hypocritical and logically inconsistent for anybody to look at this and say this is okay, because it's not. So.
It definitely isn't. It definitely isn't. And that's why I'm going to take this opportunity to announce my new venture. I'm going to be doing transcriptions under the name Levi Clay 2.0 online, and I'm sure nobody will be bothered about that. My logo is a blonde guy with a beard and a red guitar. It's a Super Strat, and then a plectrum, and my name's going to be written in guitar cable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually
what do you think?
That's actually better than what I've got going on, because my logo is so old that I don't have a beard in it. So
oh, that's true.
That's
true.
I need to update.
You know what you should do? Just get to Lucy and get her to draw your beard on it.
I think actually I will have Lucy redesign a logo for me at some
By the
point.
way, that's a good shout.
Yeah.
I know a few people that'd be interested in doing logos and stuff for us. I know some people have said if you need any graphics work done, let us know. So
yeah,
whenever, if ever anybody hears this and they're interested, give us a shout. We'd always love to work with other people and make a bit of keep supporting other local community small businesses. Speaking of which, we need to go up and see that chap about his guitar shop at some point.
Yes, and I was going to say that we should hit up Derek Tickle. Get a wee Tickle design going on the go. Mr. Tickle.
Oh no, listen, that got even further out of hand. Some of the messages he sent to Chris and other messages that we've had sent to us that he's been saying, he's not worth even like making comment on anymore or any further than you are quite unwell, mate, and although you haven't gave us what you're claiming you have, all we want is a refund.
Sure.
No the hassle of you having further mental breakdowns and threatening people.
Yeah.
Anyway.
There comes a point when things like that happen where you have to take a step back and say this started out as something funny, but then it's moved into cruel. Yep. We're causing someone a lot of distress.
I mean,
I always think of Chris Chan, the classic, the original internet lolcow.
Mm-hmm.
There comes a point with Chris Chan where you just have to say this person isn't well, and making fun of them beyond the point that has been done isn't funny. And it's the same with Drakenlord, who's the famous German
dude.
German
goes
dude
to his
that,
house and throws shit
that
and all
people bully, and they say, but he deserves it because he's an asshole. The guy's not fucking mentally well.
Clearly.
It's like his situation, if people continue, it's going to end up in actual violence.
It's a bit like Richard, what's his surname? Richard Benson?
Benson, yeah.
Is he saying that though, right? I just want to clarify the difference is that, like, as much as Chris made a point of commenting the stuff about Derek, it wasn't to take the piss out necessarily, it was to hold him accountable.
Yeah. But
it definitely got too far with other people just joining in on the commenting about it too much. It just went too far. But I actually think, and this is going to sound like I'm victim blaming if you want to call it that, I actually think Derek's a lot to do with that, because his incessant need to continually reply and then actually argue back as if he's in the right and we're actually scumbags, and then try and reframe everything to make himself a victim of some kind. Doesn't sit right with me, but it's not worth chasing. We're never going to get $100 back from him. It's only $100 and it's a total waste of time. Leave the guy be. I wish him the best. I hope he gets well. Hopefully he gets well enough to go at one point. We'll actually like to kind of rebuild that bridge. because his artwork was pretty cool. But
Yeah.
hey ho, hey ho.
Speaking of, on the Periphery note, and talking about, because of course one of the aspects that that Periphery's fans have gone for as a defense on it is pointing out that, well, it's parody and therefore it's acceptable. Aside from that logo clearly not being parody, you're not parodying anything, you're just using someone else's trademark. There's no comedy involved with it, you're not making any sort of comment whatsoever.
It's about like people saying that I can use music, but it is fair use because I didn't just have the original track completely. Like you maybe done a fart in the first 3 seconds. It doesn't count.
We talked about this story a while ago on the podcast. Clive Palmer, the Australian politician,
The Australian prick.
yeah, who and we talked about Friendly Geordie's video where he was because Clive Palmer was suing him, which was glorious.
You know what, man? He absolutely dissected everything that Clive
Yeah.
Palmer could say.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Absolutely wonderful to see that Clive Palmer's got his comeuppance as he has been ordered to pay $1.5 million after losing the Twisted Sister copyright case. And this is interesting for a few reasons. One, just because Schadenfreude is always enjoyable, but because this is an actual example where even I could look at what Clive Palmer did here and say, well, what he has done there it is a parody. He has made a parody of the Twisted Sister song. Having said that, you can't just say it's parody, therefore it's totally fair use. The law is so much more complicated than that. So to all of these people out there, and I have to say, I'm not a lawyer, I
Get that off the wee bingo card today.
yeah, I'll never pretend to be a lawyer, but it's an area that I spend a lot of time. I wouldn't say researching, but I consume a lot of content from lawyers. So I can't give legal advice. But I love talking about things like this because it shows how interesting and complex the legal system is.
Of course it is. And the precedents that it can set for things, or that if there's a precedent already been set, like what differs and what is it that makes other cases stand out from different ones. It's really interesting.
I'll let you read through this.
Sure. So Clive Palmer has been ordered to pay $1.5 million in damages for copyright infringement over his political rendition of the metal track We're Not Gonna Take It. The businessman and former politician was sued by Universal Music after he used rewritten lyrics in a version of the Twisted Sister song in saturation advertising for his United Australia Party in 2019. Despite first seeking a licence to use the 1984 track before abandoning negotiations due to the price, Mr. Palmer claimed his lyrics came to him while contemplating the federal election. I mean, even at this point, like, surely he would have understood, right, they clearly don't want me to use this song. You know what I mean? You're not willing to pay the price for it, so you're just going to make your own version and think you get away with it for free?
Yeah, I'm just looking up there, and the numbers aren't up there, but I know they are in the story. Did you know how much the original license fee was?
No.
Oh, you're going to enjoy this.
Oh, yes, no doubt. Despite first seeking... Oh, sorry, I've just read that. Yeah. In the federal court, Justice Anna Katzman today found Mr. Palmer had infringed the copyright of both the musical and literary work of the original track. Mr. Palmer's use of the song was opportunistic, she wrote in her judgment.
Almost like releasing a t-shirt with a brand on that you don't own. Feels a bit opportunistic.
Just a wee bit. He saw political and personal advantage in both its notoriety or popularity and the message it conveyed, and he thought that he could get away with using it merely by altering some of the words.
Or not altering anything at all.
Wait. He was wrong. That's the judge. Just no bullshit in Australia. Nah, you fact it. In addition to awarding $1.5 million in damages against Mr. Palmer, she also ordered him to pay costs and to remove all copies of his song and the accompanying video from the internet. In a tweet, Twisted Sister frontman Dee Snider declared the legal battle was finished. All he wrote was, "It's over, baby. We won big." Tremendous. The judges described aspects of Mr. Palmer's explanations for his creative process as a recent invention. The court heard UAP was provided with a quote for the licence fee through a company engaged to provide production services for its advertising. It was to cost $150,000. Oh man. So a wee zero in the end for his hassle.
Yeah.
Love it. It was to cost $150,000 for 8 months and subject to writer approval. In her judgment, Justice Katzman noted Mr. Palmer balked at paying the licence fee, and his representative made a counter offer of $35,000. It's not really a counter offer, is it? I'm sure if you went into the Ferrari garage and was like, "Fuck, it's a beautiful car. What's the ticket price?"
Yeah.
Well, right. Like I'm dead interested in buying it. I'm not bullshitting you, right? I'm not here to fuck about, but we want to talk about best price. What if I gave you
25%.
Exactly. Like, I was just going to say, like, 30% of what you've got to advertise for. Come on, final deal.
And in this example
Best
where
price.
it says the cost was $150,000 for 8 months and subject to writer approval, because of course that's how copyright works. You know, it's ultimately there's no just like blanket amount of money that you can pay. The IP owner has the right to decide how their content is being used. If you wanted to put the Guitar Souls logo on a t-shirt, you would have to pay us for that. But if we thought you were an asshole, we could just say no matter how much money it was. And I can't see Dee Snider ever saying yes to this, because Clive Palmer's kind of political views are against everything that Dee Snider has ever kind of stood up for. So.
Plus, Dee Snider is very articulate, way more articulate than people give him
Yeah.
props for. Certainly when it comes to the nuances of even music business stuff. If you remember him and Frank Zappa with the PMRC.
Yeah.
Just absolutely ruined every one of their comments. Yeah, but it's saying this. Like, fucking shut up and come back to reality, cunt. Anyway, Mr. Palmer's legal team initially argued the 1984 Twisted Sister track lacked originality because its substantial similarities with the Christmas carol O Come All Ye Faithful. That argument was withdrawn and they instead invoked a parody and satire defence under the Copyright Act. This is great, by the way. I'm loving that this like scrambling panic that they've just decided to put into about 10 lines. Like, so tried this, didn't work. Tried this, didn't work. Tried this, didn't work. Got even more desperate. Tried this, didn't work. Justice Katzman described the argument that USP works were for the purpose of satire as ambitious, to say the least. Mr. Palmer was accused of lying during his evidence when he appeared before the court in October. Sounds about right. He claimed his lyrics, which included Australia Ain't Gonna Cop It, had nothing to do with the metal song but were inspired by a similar line in the 1976 film Network. Sorry, you're singing the theme and the melody and the trade of that song, but the lyrics aren't anything to do with it.
Yeah, and you're also saying inspired. But so what you're saying is you took a song that you didn't write, a melody that you didn't write, and then a line from a film that you also didn't write, and mashed them all together and expect to now go, but it's a parody. Fucking goon.
Is the parody? Sorry, is the film Network not about misinformation?
I'm not sure what the film is.
Is that not the one that's got the fucking he's like a newsreader, and he's reading it, and then right at the end it's like fucking get mad as hell. You'll know the speech I'm on about, no?
No.
Tremendous scene. We'll look it up later.
Sure.
But I'm pretty sure that's it, which would make it quite ironic because it's about how the news writer just gets super fed up of basically being lied to. Anyway, let's continue. There's only a couple more lines anyway.
Sure.
Justice Katzman said that the suggestion appeared to take everyone else in the virtual courtroom by surprise. Mr. Palmer said he couldn't provide the notepad he originally scrawled his ideas on because it had been thrown out by his staff. His argument wasn't about money, he said, but the principle and not being prepared to be ripped off. So you want to use somebody else's thing, and when they told you the price and you didn't like it, you thought that was you being ripped off?
It's the exact same thing that we were talking about last episode, where we were talking about all the bands trying to make Boris Johnson make Spotify pay people more for the deals that they signed. Like, people are free to make whatever deals that they want, and you can't just go, I don't think your price is fair, therefore I'm going to take the price that I want anyway, and the government are going to back me. No, you do not have a right to purchase things at prices that you want to pay. And people can sell things they own for whatever prices they want, and if their prices are too high, guess what? They won't sell anything, they'll go out of business. Twisted Sister can command $150,000 for We're Not Going to Take It.
Because they're a household name.
Because that song in particular, I mean, I can't think of a single other Twisted Sister song.
I wanna rock.
Of course,
You couldn't think of that song. We were just talking about Vice City, and it's on the radio in Vice City.
Yeah, but it's because we're talking about Twisted Sister, and you say that song, I go, oh yeah, that's a Twisted Sister song. But actually, prior to having, if you just sang that song,
noise,
I wouldn't. No, that's
Slade.
That's Slade.
Aye.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't say, oh yeah, that was a Twisted Sister song. It's just because we're talking about them.
No, I'm the same. Like, I wouldn't be able to tell you any more than those two.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be like, what do you mean? As if I'm some sort of Dee Snider mega fan.
That song is absolutely worth that. And if you don't think it is, then cool. Don't license it. Go for those last two lines then.
Dee Snider gave a blunt assessment of Mr. Palmer's jingle during a hearing last year, describing it as awful and having misrepresented the message. He said being associated with Mr. Palmer's image was not good for my heavy metal image.
Which is incredible when you consider that Dee Snider used to look like that.
Yeah, like probably the scariest motherfucker you've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's like watching a share video on acid, having a really bad trip. Innit?
Yeah. So I really did enjoy that. It was definitely a good story, a bit of Schadenfreude, and super relevant because of the whole Periphery thing.
Yes.
Because you can't just go, but parody.
I know. Be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, would be really nice.
Be very nice.
Okay, so we mentioned the fact that we're working on some sort of whiskey deal for the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about John Petrucci, who now has announced that he is releasing Rock the Barrel, which is his own brand, Iron Smoke Rock the Barrel of bourbon.
Oh, well, I'm guessing he's getting into the things that he isn't necessarily anything to do with, but will make money from.
I mean, we're talking about having a whiskey sponsorship, so...
We've been drunk quite a few times on podcast.
Fair
I
point.
haven't seen John Petrucci go on stage and just down some fucking
No,
whiskey and be like, fuck it. But I was trying to make more of a snidey comment about the fact that he's now got an 8-string.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that. Look at all these things I can sell that are not relevant to me.
If you turned round to me and said, did you know John Petrucci doesn't actually drink? I wouldn't be able to say that's not true. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen him drink. It's not, and I'm sure he probably does drink. I'm not
That's
saying
up to him.
this is a cash in. Yeah, absolutely.
But
But
don't get me wrong, I was being really fucking flippant there. Like, I don't necessarily have any problems with him having a whiskey brand.
No.
That's cool. Fucking make money. Go for it, John.
yes,
Help yourself. Well done.
it's more of us. I think just like I want to draw attention to this because we've absolutely got fans of this podcast that will want to buy a bottle of this.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair, if it wasn't so ridiculously overpriced and it's only available in the United States anyway,
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to get a bottle of this.
How much is it?
I don't know. Too expensive.
Have you checked?
No.
Definitely too expensive anyway.
Well, yeah, because there are a bunch of bands and brands that have associated alcohols, and I did look into like Metallica had that whiskey. And
We did look at that and I was like, nah.
Was it Blackened? Was it called Blackened? Go on, how much?
Guess.
$200.
On the fucking button?
Yeah.
Good guess.
$200.
I just clipped the mic there, sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. $200.
I wasn't saying sorry to you, I'm saying sorry to the listeners. I know the lug's
No,
blown off.
I've got a D-clip on there, so
That's good, that's good. I played 2 of the Party Cannon songs in the van the other day when I was moving Andy.
Yeah.
Just when I got them yesterday. The very rough mixes, and that was all I could say to the 2 of them that were in the van. I was like, I'm really sorry, man. I know that's really... It's something else, innit?
I threw that $200 line out there because I thought, what would be a reasonable price? Then multiply that by 4. That's how much it'll be. And I was on the nose. So like, it's not worth $200.
No.
John Petrucci's name on something does not command a $200 price tag, if you like.
For $200, you could buy multiple different bottles of like fucking Old Turkey, or what other good bourbons are out there that we could have? Bullet. What was the bourbon that was in the old fashions again?
Buffalo Trace.
Buffalo Trace, also delicious.
Yeah.
Eagle Rare, like all of these things.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's an interesting Maker's Mark. I'm fine with Maker's Mark. Absolutely fine with Maker's Mark.
What do you mean you're fine with it? Maker's is great.
Sure, but many people would turn their nose up at something like Maker's Mark. But I like Maker's Mark.
Who the proper snobs? You talk about the ones that
you're
buying like fucking $1,000 bottles and taking a sip.
Yeah.
Nah, fuck those people.
Bourbon's an interesting one, isn't it? Because it doesn't take nearly as long to produce as something like a single malt Scottish whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
You're not looking at many 12-year-old bourbons. They need to be aged for a few years. So I guess it is entirely possible that from the initial the barreling of this whiskey, that maybe this is something that John's been involved in and has cared about from day one. But it's also entirely possible that this is what we kind of, and I should be clear, we're joking about the idea of putting on robes and going and blessing a cask and selling a Guitar Souls whiskey.
You're
it would
fucking
be
joking.
incredible.
I'm in.
Well, I mean, it's not something I expect to happen, and it's not something I would ask any of these
Of
companies
course
to
not.
do. But if they said, "Would you like to do this?" I'd be like, "Yes, that's hilarious."
Oh, if we could make it like a really good viral marketing campaign and be stupid with it, I'd be all over
And
it.
let's be super clear: if we were to do that, the whiskey would be sold at the same price as all the other whiskey that company sells, and I would not expect to make a fucking penny on it, because it would be something that we'd be doing sheerly for the fucking fun of it. Funny of it? That's not a thing. Just for the memes, bro. Because it would be hilarious.
With that said, if anybody knows John and he wants to send us a bottle for us to do a live review of it on the podcast, that's it. And how does it taste in this cocktail? It's almost like you're trying out gear.
Yeah. Oh, that's exactly where my future lies, isn't it? Being people giving more of a shit about my opinion on alcohol than guitar. That's probably not likely.
It's very unlikely considering you drink Malibu and spew in the fucking gardens.
Yeah. So
by the way, I've still got all your Donner Brew in the house. There's still a case of
that
Donner
needs to go in
Brew.
the bin.
Really?
That's why it's out of date.
I'm well drinking it. Fuck it. Let's go blind. Let's go fucking blind.
Yeah. So yeah. I don't have massive issue with this, and lots of bands and brands launch products that aren't hugely related to the things they do. I'm not going to criticize Bumblefoot for having a hot sauce. I'm not going to criticize Slayer for having a wine, etc. Like, ultimately, make whatever it is that you want to make, but also at the same time, we're going to kind of have a bit of a giggle about it.
What's the most ludicrous merchandise / item that you can think of that's been related to a band?
Like a single piece of merchandise,
Just anything.
Like
a product that's got a band's name or likeness used to sell it.
Well, I feel like we could just go on the Slayer store and look at anything that's on there. And
I know, but you were just about to say you're not going to slag them for having wine. Like, have a think. What's the most ludicrous you can think of?
I certainly remember there being a ridiculous Malmsteen piece of merchandise
Which
at
pen?
one point, but I can't.
The signature Sharpie?
Well, yeah, the signature Sharpie, yeah. Yeah, Malmsteen has signature Sharpies. Because when you ask the question, like, I'm thinking, we talked about this on the podcast before, and I'm fine talking about it again because obviously we've got a bunch of new listeners. So I'm going to say the same thing that I will have said back then. It was when Rammstein released their the collector's edition of one of their albums, and it had moulded dildos for each member of the band.
Yes. Ghost also did the same, and I think it was Papa
Emeritus?
Emeritus?
Yeah.
Papa Emeritus as a butt plug, his head as a butt plug. No, my favourite one probably is, do you know the Italian band Flesh God Apocalypse?
I do not.
No, like super fast symphonic kind of blackened death metal. They released their own pasta. Not kidding. Their own pasta.
Yeah, that's strange. Pasta. Imagine what was their name?
They are Flesh God Apocalypse.
That's what I thought you said. So imagine doing your cooking, you're making all your food, and you're like, oh, can you just nip to the shops and pick up some pasta, babe? We're out of pasta. Make sure you get the Flesh God Apocalypse stuff though. That stuff's there's none better than the.
That's it.
It's got to be the Flesh God stuff.
If it's not the rigid rigatoni, I don't know what I want.
So yeah, on you go, John. Keep going. Let's have a wee giggle. I
mean, this should be the main story because it is the funniest. But
it is the funniest, but the Lars one definitely feels like a bit of a main story. So
definitely.
Let's talk about our good friend Lucas Mann. What does Lucas Mann and Levi Clay have in common?
I mean, I could give you the answer, but I don't want to take it away from you.
Neither of us have record deals.
Wah, 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 wah.
I was going to say, what does Lucas Mann and we collectively have in common, and say neither of us have record deals. But Mike has a record deal, and Lucas Mann doesn't have a record deal.
I have a record deal with a really, really good label, which I fucking love. On yourself, Carlos. Gorhouse Productions. Big ups. Genuinely, always looked after us. Fucking put a barbecue on for us when we were in the States. We weren't even playing in LA. We were just near.
Yeah.
We were travelling between gigs, and Carlos said, come to my house, we're having a barbecue and beers in the garden. And it was in South Central. It was fucking cool.
Do you remember the good old days of being able to go to people's houses for a beer and a barbecue?
Yeah. I mean, I'm here.
Yeah, that is fair.
Right, fucking get the barbecue in here.
Jay's still got my barbecue.
Still?
Still, yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, well, because there was this, like, she needed a barbecue for her birthday,
mm-hmm.
and I was moving house,
mm-hmm.
so we took the barbecue to her house so she could use it for her birthday, and then she's played the whole, you can come and get your barbecue whenever you want, mate. And I'm like, no.
That's not how it works.
No. You borrowed my barbecue, you give it back to me. It's not on me to come and get it. You give it to me.
I mean, you're right, but
that will never happen. She'll have it forever now.
I was just going to say, like, in the bigger picture, in the long run, Jay's kind of won this one.
Yeah.
I was even talking to her the other day, and she's like, "Oh, I'm choking to have a barbecue." And I'm like, "You don't own a barbecue?" And I think it was, "No, you do, but it's not yours."
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go back to laughing at this fucking dick.
Yeah.
And you know what? That sounds maybe a bit too aggressive. It's just...
Again, it's the theme of today is Schadenfreude.
Yes.
And that's exactly what this is. Lucas Mann, for however talented he is, and he's good at what he does. I'm just, of course, not into
programming.
Not into what he does.
He's fantastic at that.
He is and people listening to this now will detect a wonderful irony when I say this. He is a fabulously arrogant dirtbag. And it's his brand to portray himself like that. The greatest gift to modern metal.
I think that's just him leaning into it to see how many people just write shitty things.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I think it's wonderfully ironic, because everybody listening to this podcast will think of me as being exactly the fucking same.
I remember some of the
I'm not like that in real life.
Yeah,
Most of the time.
Actually. There's some really early footage of Lucas Mann playing a couple of playthroughs of, it might even have been Rings of Saturn's first or second album.
Right.
In the videos, he's got about 35 clocks behind him.
Yeah, I remember this.
And he was pulling mad faces and shit. Like, at that point, I was like, right, this is funny. He's leaning into it. He's taking the piss out himself as well as people who are shit talking on him.
Yeah.
In comparison to when he decided he was going to do his, well, this is my rebuttal to people commenting on that video and whatever else, and then he used other footage to prove that he wasn't miming or that what was coming out of speakers wasn't pre-recorded. I just couldn't fathom how that was somehow an argument for it. It's like,
well, it was an argument in the sense that it wasn't responding to my video; it was responding to Jared Dine's video.
Yeah.
He disproved the claims that Jared made, because Jared did jump the gun, and I didn't. And it's coming back to Periphery again, right? Dealing with fanatics of anything is, I'll be completely honest with you, mate, it's fucking exhausting. It really is. After I made that video yesterday, I was like, this will be fine, this will be fun. And by the end of the night, I was just like, I can't be doing this with my life anymore. This is exhausting to have to keep up with this. Absolutely exhausting, because you are trying to have conversations with people, and I'm not making a video like that just for shits and giggles. Like, I have a genuine point about how to be better as a community. Mm-hmm. That's the point behind something like that. And you cannot have conversations with these people because they are not willing to listen to the point you have, because person I like did bad thing, therefore it not bad thing. And Lucas Mann fans have kind of been the pinnacle of that for me in my career.
Even if that's the minority of Rings of Saturn fans, that's the ones that are vocally
vocal minorities,
vocally ignorant.
Yeah. So we should probably actually do the actual story.
Yeah, let's do it. So for anybody that didn't guess it so far, Rings of Saturn have been dropped by nuclear blast after Lucas Mann allegedly threatens the label. Now, for a guy that was whinging about how other people ruined his chances at a signature guitar that he was supposed to get,
which he did get, I would like to point out.
Yes.
And again, that was a massive fucking sympathy thing that he tried to do with his fans, where he'd go, these people are saying mean things about me and I've lost all of my opportunities because of it. No, you just said that so you could fucking weaponize your audience against people like me. You've still got your signature guitar. Your signature guitar is available. You were plugging it up until a couple of weeks ago when you switched fucking brands again.
Right, you jumped the gun, man. Sorry. Chill. It's all right. You're not actually jumping the gun. You're just getting animated because obviously you're not enjoying.
Well, it's a podcast, so I'm supposed to entertain people.
That's it. Are you not entertained? Tell me, are you not entertained? Anyway, sorry. How did other people stop you getting a signature with Legator? Because the only things I've ever seen MD say to Legator is concerns about QC and then just general comments. I've never seen MD saying, you shouldn't give Lucas Mann one of these because he doesn't actually play the guitar parts that are on the album. Like, it's quite clear that he can play parts of it. It's not what's on the album. It's been edited to the point of potentially being unrecognisable as a real guitar or whatever. But that, again, my opinion on the production style, nothing to do with it. I don't think that is actually true. I don't think it's anything to do with that at all. And I think Lucas was trying to be a smart arse. Anyway, Rings of Saturn is now an independent band, thanks to guitarist Lucas Mann. This is in Metal Injection, by the way. In a statement from Nuclear Blast, Rings of Saturn were dropped after Mann began threatening the label by saying he'd make public statements condemning Nuclear Blast in the strongest terms possible if the label does not give in to his baseless demands. Now, that's kind of paraphrased from what Nuclear Blast have actually said, because Lucas seems to be very silent at the moment based on what way do we look for.
Yeah, it's not like Lucas to shut the fuck up, is it?
I'm sure there'll be a YouTube video that's got nothing to do with this in a week's time. Anyway, Nuclear Blast ended their statement by saying they will not tolerate threats from artists. Mann and Rings from Saturn, Mann and Rings of Saturn have not yet responded to being dropped. Correct. Radio silence.
To be fair, it's been less than 24 hours, so.
Nuclear Blast has a long-standing history of supporting its artists, treating them with the utmost respect and integrity. This includes Lucas, Mann and Rings of Saturn. Nuclear Blast is proud to provide the support and strives to make all its artists feel comfortable that they have a transparent, honest relationship with the label. Sadly, Lucas Mann, on behalf of Rings of Saturn, has brazenly threatened to issue public statements condemning Nuclear Blast in the strongest terms possible. I'm guessing that would be Lucas's own words, because it's in inverted brackets in this comma, in this quote.
It's a quote within a quote.
Yeah, if the label does not give in to his baseless demands. While Nuclear Blast is truly shocked and saddened by Lucas Mann's actions, Nuclear Blast also does not tolerate threats. Accordingly, Rings of Saturn have been dropped from the label, and that's as much as we know.
Yeah.
I'm going to put the feelers out and see if we can get more information.
Nuclear Blast does not negotiate with terrorists. We could speculate as to what this is going to be about, and speculation, and it's clear this is absolute speculation. They did have that lawsuit floating around them, didn't they, for the plagiarism?
For the Husk in the band that Lucas was part of before. I don't think it became a lawsuit. I know they definitely get called out, but
there were documents.
Did they go further?
There were definitely documents, court documents for it. I'm sure we looked at court documents for it. It's entirely possible that it could be that. I think the thing that we aren't speculating on is this is not something that just happens like this. It's not just happened on a off the cuff type thing. It's a big decision for Nuclear Blast to issue a statement like that. So there will have been an ongoing series of discussions with Lucas and deciding how they were going to act moving forward. So this can't be walked back now. So definitely a really interesting one, and looking forward to seeing how this one kind of progresses moving forward. Anything you want to add?
If I find out anything, I'll be sure to leave in it or film an addendum of some kind to put in here. But until that point, I don't think there's really much we're going to know. I just need to wait and see.
Okay.
Suck it and see, as they say.
Let's finish up by talking about I don't think this is actually really about Lars Ulrich. I think this is about Mr. Vince Neilstein, who we talk about a fair amount on the podcast because he's one of the lead writers at Metal Sucks. The article is the problem with the Lars was right about Napster argument, and then there's this really, I think, quite
meaty.
I think this is quite a bad take. Personally, I think this is quite a bad take. Do you want to read the story?
Sure, let's go for it. So this was Metal Sucks, as Levi just said, April 28th. So 3 days ago from recording, 5 days from broadcast. In my sleepless haze last night, I came across this headline on Blabbermouth. Corey Taylor says Lars Ulrich was so right on so many levels about Napster. That line alone made me angry, so I moved on knowing I'd likely return in the morning to cover it in the usual way, because who can resist a story about Slipknot and Metallica? Throw in Napster, and it's a can't-miss hit factory, the likes which even Bob Rock and Ross Robinson have never known.
I do like that kind of the acknowledgement of the type of stuff that you write about and the motivations for writing about them.
Aye.
Your writing style is perfectly, entertaining. It's not just reading off facts. You are.
This is not a news site. This is an entertainment site.
Yeah.
And it's like a gossip mag for metal musicians. Yeah. Essentially, this is fucking take a break. Isn't it? Really?
Loose women.
Everyone's loose women these days. Fucking hell, they've got to be taking over. But upon returning to it moments ago after proper caffeination, I felt I should take a different angle with my coverage, because this certainly isn't the first time we've seen Lars Was Right gobbledygook from musicians. It's actually racist. And it certainly won't be the last. It needs to be addressed on its own, because I friggin' hate when I see that bullshit. Yeah, don't use the term gobbledygook, it's racist. But let's back up. First, for context, here's Corey's full quote, which came from the latest episode of the Wild Ride with Steve O podcast. Do we really care what Corey Taylor says?
We don't really know, because it's really from here onwards.
Aye. Here's what Lars got wrong, and why he took so much criticism at the time, that suing Napster into oblivion was the answer. That course of action was never going to be fruitful, because once the can of worms was open, once the internet existed inside people's homes, basically, it was a foregone conclusion that music would eventually be greatly devalued. I would say that's for art in general, because it's such a... or information as well, it's so easy to get it. It's that simple. Once the means of distribution changed, the record companies and rights holders could no longer maintain their price controls, and the floodgates were open. Lars is not a genius for recognising what every music consumer with a computer at the time also knew. What was the expected result? Sue the internet out of existence to maintain the dominance of CDs forever? It makes no sense at all. This is why when people say that Lars was right, they're merely stating the obvious. But that's not what everyone was saying he was wrong about in the first place. When people criticise Lars for how he handled Napster, they're saying that no course of action, legal or otherwise, was ever going to halt music downloading and eventually streaming. So complaining about Napster and doing so quite loudly at a great expense was always a fool's errand. Once Napster was taken down, Kazan LimeWire popped up in their place. The trend was unstoppable. A game of whack-a-mole, because you can't get in the way of progress. So, Lars was not right. Lars was wrong. He was wrong to sue Napster and launch a public relations campaign against it, because that was never the answer. It took several years for the technology to catch up, but streaming services were always inevitable too, and no amount of high-powered lawyers were ever going to stop that. With the gates of distribution lowered, there was nothing anyone would be able to do about the resulting lowered income from recorded music. And it's not going back, other than perhaps the marginal legislative increase to which Taylor is referring above. I've been saying this for years, but it bears repeating. The period lasting roughly from 1950 through to 2000 was an aberration, not the norm. At no other time in history prior to that had musicians been able to sell their recorded music at great profit, and at no point in the future will they be able to do it again. It was a blip, a spike, a rarity that was never ever able to happen. Streaming is the course correction, not the downfall.
And then he says,
Stop saying Lars was right.
But Lars was right, and you've acknowledged that you've acknowledged that the Lars is. You can argue all day whether or not you think Lars did the right thing, but his observation was right, and it's also worth pointing out, Mr. Nilstein, that hindsight's always fucking 20/20, isn't it? It must be really nice being able to look back on the mistakes Lars made, 30 fucking years ago, and with all the wisdom that you have now. What do you Sorry, show me the people at the time that were arguing with Lars over this and saying, while you're right about why this is bad for musicians, you're wrong to. It'd be easy to put those quotes in from people making those arguments at the time. People weren't making those arguments at the time, and to say that streaming was the obvious and inevitable future that was going to happen. Sorry, show me anybody that said that at the time. Nobody fucking said that at the time.
No, people thought that file sharing was going to be the future, peer-to-peer networks.
Yeah,
and probably like a decentralized internet where it's not the cloud, but like internet, say satellite based.
Yeah.
If you want to remember the rumours back then of whatever they thought was going to happen next.
Yeah. Lars acted with the information that he had at the time that he had. And I don't blame him for acting the way that he did. And it's so easy for you, my friend, to act and all smug about this and saying Lars was not right about this, because you're writing that from the perspective as a journalist who has no experience of actually having to make a living from your, I was going to say make a living from your creative endeavors, but I guess that is kind of what you're doing here. But from your art, from without taking from other people and just rewriting, talking about your opinions, you're not creating things in the same way that musicians are. So when Lars talks about, the impact of Napster on the record industry, and when Corey Taylor talks about the impact of Napster on the record industry and the way artists and musicians can make their money, I think their opinions are a little bit more valid than somebody that looks at it and goes, yeah, well, artists, because you're essentially saying that artists don't deserve to make money. I believe, if I don't misinterpret that, you're saying that streaming was course correction, not the downfall. So by saying, you're saying that artists had no right to make the levels of money that they were making.
I don't think he's saying you don't have the right. I think what he's saying is that you should expect that to not happen again. Consider it a blip where we were lucky to make money for that 50 years. But that's such a dismissive way to look at art in general. I think that's where I'm looking at it from. It's like, no, art's been devalued or not properly valued forever. Any kind of art.
Yeah.
Most famous artists died before they became famous.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's much an argument. I mean, if we want to be really pedantic, a specific argument is that recorded music was sold at great profits between the 50s and 2000s. It's funny that, because it's just the period basically after recording became good, and musicians had most of the control before big companies came in and renegotiated whatever contracts they had and shat on everybody.
Yeah, and before consumers got to come in and say, well, actually, we want more. It's the same thing we've been talking about all episode. Actually, we want more than you're offering us. We don't like the prices that you're charging. So rather than not having the thing, we expect to have the thing and pay the price that we want to pay for it, which is going to be zero.
Yep, or even the convenience over everything model, which is Spotify.
Yeah.
So much easier for me to open my phone and put a song on. Doesn't cost me anything there and then than it would be otherwise. Because before that, really before anybody was using Spotify and stuff, yourself especially, iTunes, places where you bought the tracks.
Yeah.
It was still a good model for bands.
Yep.
Still convenient. Not as convenient as just pressing something and it's on.
Yeah, and not as convenient as downloading it illegally for free.
Exactly.
And you would think, and iTunes was hugely successful.
It was.
For a long time because it did offer that counter level of convenience to just pirating music.
I think on top of that, the fact that they had the stranglehold in the MP3 market made a big difference. I know a lot of Apple fans that had iPods would be, I don't want to say morally against downloading, but kind of felt that, for what I understood of them, a lot of them it was like, no, I pay the premium, but I also get the service at the other end, so I do the same with the music. I'll pay for the music because I'm getting the iPod that always works well and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And credit where credit's due, the majority of the iPods, I never owned any. My brother had a couple, and a lot of my friends had iPods, but the hardware was really good on them.
Sure.
Can't deny that.
Yeah. It's I just can't agree with the take. Like, to say that it was inevitable. Like, you see the thing that Vince doesn't really suggest here is it's easy to say Lars was wrong, but at no point does he say what Lars should have done, other than potentially tacitly say that Lars should have just accepted defeat from the get-go. It was you were never going to win, therefore you wasted your time. Like, of course, you're totally right. It's absolutely a game of whack-a-mole. Absolutely. But let's not pretend that what Lars didn't have an impact. He might have slowed down the inevitable future. I'm not arguing that, like, it wasn't an inevitable thing. Like, in the long run, they were never gonna. They were never gonna win it in the long run, but they slowed it down significantly. And I mean, I don't know about you, but certainly growing up, I certainly saw, and my parents loved to draw attention to the horror stories of people that would get hauled up in front of courts for copyright infringement.
And they would charge like 50 grand per song or whatever, infringement or whatever. It's all right making those examples, but who really wins there? Right, we're suing you for $500,000. Well done. I pirated it because I couldn't afford a $12 CD. What do you think's going to happen next?
No, you're totally right. But having said that, like, that is kind of how crime and punishment and justice works, right? You put deterrents in place, and I'm not arguing that that's a reasonable deterrent. It's like,
I think financial deterrents are essentially rules for poor people.
Yeah.
If you can break a law and the only repercussion you have is you need to pay money, then it's just a poor in the tax. Taxing the poor, sorry.
Yes.
It's just saying poor people can't do these things, but rich people can.
Yeah.
For example, Jeff Bezos, who run up like fucking 100,000 in parking tickets outside his house while it's been renovated.
Yeah.
Less than he makes in a day or something.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you are right. But having said that, like,
some countries do it proportionately though. That's the system I would like.
Yeah,
that makes way more sense.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you on that.
Not a blanket amount where people who genuinely don't have money are getting fucked over by it when they're trying their best to get to work and there's nobody else from the park and whatever, versus people taking the piss.
Point is, I don't want to say that that this is totally the case in this example, but I think piracy inherently proliferates in poorer communities anyway.
Of course,
if you're rich, you don't have the need to pirate things. So,
entirely.
And, like, I don't have an anti-poor mentality because I grew up poorer than fucking poor, and did my fucking fair share of pirating, you know. But there's this disgusting sense of entitlement, which, and we both had it, right? We both had this sense of entitlement growing up of, yeah, but why shouldn't I be able to have all of the music?
I mean, I think maybe I'm romanticising how I think about it in my brain as I'm getting older, so this might not be how I thought about it when I was younger, but the way I'm thinking about it now is like, how is it fair that people who had more expendable income and more money had access to way more of the art than I did? But again, that's the same argument in different words. It's just devaluing and blaming somebody else for the devaluing.
Yeah.
So aye, you're bang on.
Yeah, you can't, like, ultimately we just can't have everything, and like, unfortunately, the disparity that you have between rich and poor people means that rich people have access to more things. Like, it wouldn't be the same or reasonable to make the same argument of, yeah, well, why do I have to live in this shithole and I eat microwave meals every night, and we, like, our electricity is constantly getting cut off. Meanwhile, that cunt over there has a chef that cooks for him and he lives in a mansion. Like, that's not fair. I can see the argument, but like, you'd just be doing that for your entire life if you just allow the fact that you come from a low income background to define who you are. It's shitty. Like, I get it. Because, as I say, I pirated my fair share of music. There was just this inherent sense of why shouldn't I be able to have everything? And actually, as a content creator now, I look at it from I want to say a more selfish perspective, but that isn't really the intention. It's just that idea of just respecting intellectual property rights. People that make art have the right to decide how their art is distributed, and I'll die on that hill. I will absolutely fucking die on that hill, because people just won't accept the inevitable conclusion, the end for that. If you want to be Mr. Vince Nielsen talking about the inevitable future, if you're talking around and saying that inevitably everybody should have all access to all art, and it should be proportional to how much income they have. So if you have no money, you should just be able to get whatever you want for free. Then this is going to result in artists just going, well, fuck it, I'm not going to make anything anymore. What's the point? I don't have an incentive to do things anymore.
Totally.
So yeah,
and it kind of draws a line between art for art's sake and art that's designed to provide income. And I'm not saying that that's valued less.
Sure.
And it's kind of a grey area when you hear people talking about, oh, they're not in it for the music, man, they're in it for whatever. Like, it doesn't matter what they're in it for. If they're doing it, then they're doing it. Who cares? I probably made the same argument the opposite side, the other side of the coin before as well. But that's the beautiful thing. You can change your mind. You can have a think about it, and you can feel differently about the same subject, but with different people in different contexts.
Yeah. I've changed my mind in it as I've grown older, because I've matured. I've learned more about consequence. I've learned more about how income works. Growing up, like I say, from the poorest of the poor, I know what it's like to have absolutely nothing, so I can talk about this perspective of what it's like to have nothing and therefore not really attribute any value to anything. And you take what you can get your hands on, but that doesn't work eternally like that.
Absolutely.
That as a system won't work.
Exactly, it's finite. It only goes so far before there's no supply or there's no demand.
Yeah,
it just crumbles.
Yeah, and I'm not a record label supporter in that sense, and I'm not a Lars supporter in the sense that I think going after your fans, trying to prosecute the actual people that downloaded music rather than the people that were providing music for people, illegal streaming services, or people that illegally take logos and print them on t-shirts.
They're fucking dying in that hill this episode, man. Jesus.
Mate, if you'd seen my fucking inbox over the last 24 hours, you'd get it.
I'm sure I'm more than aware that you piss people off all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know why you do it. I mean, I tell you about arguments I have with people over things, and you're like, why do you even engage with these people? And then I see you posting shit, and I'm like, what? You've just done the same as what I'm talking about.
No, I know.
But as bad as I think we just like an argument. It's because we're guitar souls.
Yeah, there is that. There's enjoying the argument, but like, I don't know, just at its core, sure, I'm very arrogant and I'm just taking this position of I'm right. And at the end of that video, Kaylin quoted me and said, it's my favourite Levi Clay quote ever, and I appreciate taken out of context, it does appear wonderfully arrogant, which is, if you want to have an argument with me in the comment section, I'm more than happy to do it. If you want to tell me that I'm wrong, by all means, go for it. I'm happy to argue with you. I'm happy to argue with you because I'm absolutely fucking right.
That is you.
Yeah, like I'm not arguing with somebody because they drive like an idiot and I'm pulling over and shouting at them about their driving. Like, this is it's like everything we've talked about on the podcast here, the piracy thing and the Clive Palmer thing, and it's all about looking after the industry that we live in and that we work in, and trying to keep that industry moving forward. And if nobody respects the rights of the people that make the content that we love and enjoy, the reason I download, I'm thinking Buckethead for some reason. I have, certainly when I was into pirating music back in the early 2000s, I have a folder on my computer that has everything Buckethead had released up until like In Search of the, right? And I've not listened to any of it.
I mean, probably because it would take you about 10.5 years to unpack the file, because it's probably about 7 terabytes.
Yeah. And I had it because I just felt that I should have it, and I should have a right to have it. And actually, I just now have to look at it and go and respect the content creator. If everybody that loves Buckethead took that attitude, Brian Carroll would not be able to make a living, and therefore, what I did there was wrong. And yeah, I don't want to devalue art anymore. So
it's hard, man. It's really, really hard. I think, just to summarise how I feel about it, I think the concern here is that you don't have a physical aspect to that art anymore.
Sure.
You see something on a screen, but you don't have a tangible hold on it. You hear the music, but you don't have a tangible CD or a case or the lyrics or the booklet or anything. Like you're not putting on a CD player. You just click a button, it plays.
Yeah.
And I think that again, the convenience of just having that. There's no interaction of a medium to put it on, other than a computer, which you're probably sitting at all the time, or your phone.
Yeah.
Desensitizes people to the fact that there's a process behind that becoming music, getting to market, being distributed to people, and whatever else.
And we have to look at the consequence of this as well, or just at least consider the consequence. And we've talked about the consequence on this show, right?
That's right. If you don't buy albums, Lucas Mann will get kicked off his label. Oh wait,
no, it's not even that. If you don't buy albums at all, then artists that make albums need to look at other ways of making a living and making their money. So they release whiskies, or they release t-shirts. Because I don't want to say I would bet, I would say that the Periphery's merchandising business is probably just as lucrative, if not more lucrative, than actually selling physical albums.
I think it doesn't matter what band you are, you probably make the majority of your money on merch.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of it these days. Everything else costs money. Venues can't pay a lot of money for shows. You're then paying staff, maybe even backline. Costs for yourself to and fro places, whatever else. Selling merch, you've got an item that costs you X amount, doesn't cost you anything else to have, and you can sell for your own price. That to me, in my mind, is the only real controlled income of an actual band.
Until you don't make literally zero money from your music, so you need to up the price of your merchandise a little bit in order to make ends meet. And then your fans look at it and go, well, I love the band and I love all the music and I should be able to wear the merchandise, but I can't afford the merchandise, so I'm just going to buy fake stuff from China that's manufactured for pennies. I'm going to pay pennies for it, but it's okay because I have a right to wear it. It's dangerous, slippery slope.
It depends what countries you're in, but that can be it's very, very popular in certain places in Asia. For like bands, like even like small bands, they have counterfeit merch. Just because it's like, I don't know if it's like the specific countries just don't give a fuck about trademarks.
It's just
seems to be that China's definitely big on that one when it comes to building things.
Yeah, it's very much a case of it's a cultural thing, isn't it? Like there are people of certain political persuasions that are of the opinion that intellectual property rights shouldn't be a thing, and it's very much an anarchist view that you shouldn't own ideas, you shouldn't own concepts of things.
I kind of agree with that argument in the sense that individuals owning things probably isn't that dangerous, but when you've got companies who just swallow up trademarks or copyrights or any of these things, and of which is happening and has happened for the last 10 years, and just trying to essentially bully people into paying them for things. I don't think that's very fair.
That's not so good, but we have to be consistent in the concept of like, well, intellectual property is a thing, and it has value.
Oh, of course,
for the individual. And
I'm not arguing
to kind of take that away in order to stop the big conglomerates.
Exactly,
it just hurts the individual
entirely. I'm not saying that it shouldn't be a thing. I'm saying it should be regulated better. It should be dealt with better. I don't know. No, we're talking about NFTs in the last episode.
Sure,
right?
Periphery had an NFT.
I'm not surprised. Do you remember the meme Disaster Girl? The wee lassie's evil face sitting in front of the fucking
500,000.
500,000 for the original of that photo. See, that's the only NFT that I support, because that's somebody who spent most of their life having their image spread around the internet, becoming not famous but infamous in a sense. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't imagine everybody walks up to the street and goes, "Fuck your Disaster Girl," now that she's grown up. But there is value in that. Like, I can't believe that a meme would be an NFT worth $500,000. But it's the person that's in the photo that sold it and made the money. I love that. I absolutely love that. Good on you.
There are a lot of people that have the opportunity to do things like that. You've got the kid with the baby with the sand.
I think that baby made a lot of money off Virgin Media.
A lot. Scumbag Steve. If you take interest in this kind of like meme, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the audience, the meme culture, checking out Wavy Websurf's channel on YouTube, who goes into the history of like these memes and who these people are and where they are now. All of these people should be capitalizing on the NFT thing. I don't take massive issue with the NFT thing, because I think when somebody's paying $500,000 for the rights ownership of the original for that photo, the chances are that the person that is doing it grew up with meme culture and probably made millions on Bitcoin, which in itself is a hypothetical conceptual thing. You know what I mean?
It's not real fiat, not currency.
It's not fiat currency. Yeah,
it's
it's
intangible
weird,
fake money.
so yeah, it's non-tangible money, and sure, non-fungible tokens. The two things go hand in hand.
That's it. Seems to be. Anyway, sorry, I know I went a bit off track with that one.
No, totally good. Right, so how are we going to do this? I tell you what. Did you know? Oh, I did it again, bastard!
You silly sausage.
I know. It's almost like I knew exactly what I was going to do there. Let's just quickly go through this.
Big thanks to Perry and the guys. Ormsby Guitars, get them checked out on all the social media, send them a wee like. If you're interested in any of the guitars, these pre-orders are now open. I think they'll be open for about a month.
Yep.
If there's something here that doesn't really, or there isn't anything here that tickles your fancy, there are way more runs coming, way more designs, different finishes, different body types.
Yep.
A couple of wee specials. I know the Perry's Choice models are starting to become a bit of a thing, which is, for anyone that doesn't know, Perry's just going to start making customs that he's decided he wants to build rather than commissions, and then because they're his choice, they'll go up for sale, which is fucking cool. Yep. I've seen a few of them, and I know that there's at least one of them that I would absolutely cut my arms off for.
Yeah. I'm going to use this section to talk about Ormsby just to do these payment plan things. So if you're interested in getting one of these guitars, you can get one of Ormsby's payment plans. Your payment plan is you're aiming to clear 1,500 Australian dollars. So when you set up a payment plan, this will allow you to make a one-off payment of 375 Australian dollars, and then each month for the next 3 months you'll be billed 375 Australian dollars, which ends up paying $1,500 towards your guitar. When the guitars are ready to ship, you'll then be billed for the postage and any remainder money that is owed, because of course none of these guitars actually retail for $1,500. They're a little bit more expensive than that. You get billed for any upgrades that you want, and additional optional merchandise that you want. It's great. It's just a great option, and I wish more companies offered this as a way of doing things. It's a great way.
Plan.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because just saying to people, yeah, you need to pay $1,500 to us right now it's not a tax on the poor, but you know, this makes it easier for people to
this involved. Is the opposite. This is making it more inclusive.
Yeah. And
you can't afford to pay that all in the one. Here you go. In fact, the interest-free payment plans come before the you don't need a payment plan pays them all the money now.
Yeah. That,
in my mind, is as accessible as it gets.
Yeah. So good work on that, Perry. And just showing you pictures of these. You've got the Hope multi-scales with the new finishes. You've got the Metal X multi-scales with 6 finishes, and you've got the Metal V headless. And I don't know how, but I think I like the Metal V headless even more than the Hypes.
Really?
Yeah.
You know what? I think they are like growers. You get to the point where you're like, you know what, man? And you know what I think it'll be? Maybe this is just me. I'm quite big on flow of guitars in terms of ergonomics. Remember we were talking about a couple of different models where the finish or the pickups kind of threw it off. Yeah. Was it the Ibanez models with the fan frets?
Yes.
We were talking about the pickups weren't sitting right
the
in my mind.
pickups don't slant with the fan or the frets.
Yeah, they were like slightly different.
Yeah. Yeah.
The angle of the headstock and the nut, the locking nut for that flows with the guitar, and I think it just sets itself off really nice. All the angles are fairly complementary. Even like, and only you'll be able to see this if I'm talking about it. You know the very bottom of the upper horn?
Yes.
That kind of falls in line with the last fret.
Yep.
The other one falls in line with the nut.
Yeah.
There's just some really pleasingly aesthetically flowing of that without a headstock.
It is a nice design.
In my mind.
Yeah. Good work, Perry.
Yes.
And
5 of each, please. Thank you.
Big thanks to Daniel at Dead World Audio. Please do go and check Dead World Audio out. It's not going to autofocus because I don't have autofocus on. But the Duality DX, a incredible boost pedal with a 4-cable gate in the pedal. If you play with a lot of gain, there is no better option than a 4-cable noise gate.
Even if you don't, it takes the noise floor of your amp to pretty much nothing.
Yeah.
As I say, I was playing that Bergera Tri-Rec and it was blasting. Loud as fuck. High gain. Then using that, obviously, to boost the signal into it.
Yep.
and it was like as soon as I stopped playing, it was like you could just talk normal volume. Other amps I've had before, other setups I've used before, you stop playing, you're standing, and all you can hear is all the amps just going tits.
Yeah. I
nice.
I just want to throw this out there. I don't understand how it's gotten to an hour and 30 minutes of us sitting and talking. You just took your headphones off there, and it's occurred to me we have no reason to be wearing headphones for this podcast. We didn't need. I could have been showing my ears off this whole time.
Aye, fair. I could have been showing off my balding.
Oh yeah. I guess it's an opportunity for you to hide that. Mike, until next time.
Goodbye, fuckers.